Tomorrow, Brian will find himself at a crossroads when we return to Ambridge at 7 o'clock. Gwyneth will have an emergency operation in A.J. Cronin's groundbreaking story about medical life before the NHS. That's in half an hour. Before that, here on BBC Radio 4, it's time for Front Row with Samira Ahmed.
Hello. Tonight, what's the secret of songwriter Bernie Taupin's remarkable 50-year partnership with Elton John?
I will discuss lyrics with him. I'll discuss how I feel about them, what kind of feel I think the song should strive for. I mean, sometimes he'll pay no attention and go in his own direction but he'll always try it. And so far it seems to have worked.
And a new exhibition in Sheffield celebrates and challenges assumptions about working class art. But first, what would you do if your partner suddenly disappeared without a trace? That's the plot for the massive word-of-mouth hit Keeping Faith. Having already broken BBC Wales and iPlayer viewing records with an estimated 10 million downloads, the series finally gets its debut on BBC One tonight. Originally released in Welsh, the drama was simultaneously filmed scene by scene in English. It follows Faith, played by Torchwood and Broadchurch star Eve Myles, a lawyer on maternity leave whose life is turned upside down when her husband disappears one Wednesday morning after leaving for work. Keeping Faith is a fascinating combination of mystery and travelogue as it's set and filmed against the beautiful castles and wilds of Carmarthenshire. Earlier, I spoke to Eve Myles about playing Faith as she copes with the impact on her job, mental health and 3 young children when she starts to uncover her husband's double life.
People don't just go missing. Even I know that.
Your dad is the most... He is the most kindest man and the best daddy I know. And he will be back. Okay, my little darling. Come on, let's get you to bed.
What hits you straight away off the screen is that the love is palpable. What makes it so shocking then is what unveils itself, that something like this can happen to a family with all this love and a beautiful family at home. It does come down very much to the mental health of a family at crisis point. And I think when you're seeing a woman who's trying her best to keep her head above water and to keep her children safe, and everything is coming at her at every sort of angle and direction and knocking her down, I think people start to want her to win.
What is it you think that people watching this are really relating to? You know, she's this kind of gregarious, party-loving woman. You know, I think people get a big kick out of seeing what she wears, those fabulous shoes, the yellow coat, which has its own Twitter account now, and her relationships with, you know, these strong women around her. That seems to be a big part of it, to balance out the darkness.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the darkness won't work without the humour, and the Welsh have humour in abundance. I mean, we want to highlight a modern Wales and a modern woman and a modern mum. But we also want to keep those strong traditional values, which is warmth and a heart and a bucket full of fun. And Faith's life has been fun, and she's got great people around her, and they have an ordinary life. Her and her best friend, they love to have a couple of bottles of wine and play awful tricks on the waiter and just have girly nights out. But you will always get those moments, even in the darkest parts, you'll always get those one-liners. There's a scene where I have with Lisa. Lisa is the best friend of Faith, and she comes round with a bottle of wine, and it's about 4:30 in the afternoon, and Faith is trying to keep everything together. He's been missing for 2 days, actually, 48 hours. And she breaks down over the kitchen sink, and in the moment where Faith has, for the first time, really broken, Lisa whispers into her ear, which wasn't originally in the script, "Why don't I make tea for the kids tonight?" And I just had to say, because it was such a heavy moment, and what us Welsh do is bring light into the darkness in moments like that. And I said, well, Lisa, the kids are going through hell as it is without you making food for them. And then we both kind of burst out laughing, but through tears. And that, again, anchors this series into a raw, ravishing, realism.
You had said that you previously had considered giving up acting before this role, which is written by Matthew Hall, who'd worked on Kavanagh QC in the 80s drama of DL and Pascoe. Why was Keeping Faith the part to change your mind?
I had a big wobble, is the only way I can describe it. And I think anybody being in a situation or being in a profession for a long time, I think we all get those wobbles now and again. But this was a proper wobble, and I did seek a different profession. Maybe I thought maybe it was time for a new route. I was talking about going into midwifery. It was still is very much something that I would love to study and try to do. Not so much now, because I'm back full flow, loving what I should always have done. But that came crashing down when I had a meeting with my midwife of my 2 children. And I said, I think I might have made a decision that things have been very slow the last couple of years, and I'm feeling very frustrated and stuck. And I love what midwives stand for. I think they do the most incredible job. And she looked at me and she said, Eve, I don't know what possesses you to think that a woman in the latter stage of labour wants to look down and see Gwen Cooper in between her legs. Gwen Cooper is who I played in Torchwood. And I thought, it's not the Gwen Cooper they'd be scared of. It'd be the John Barrowman popping up behind me as Captain Jack, which would probably have wrested it from there. But yeah, it was just a wobble, I think. And I'm very grateful of it, because I think if that hadn't have happened, maybe I wouldn't have been ready for such a challenge as Faith Howells.
Speaking of challenges, you had to learn Welsh from scratch because you didn't speak it before this part. How easy was that?
Very, very difficult. Every time I looked at a scene, I started with the Welsh alphabet, which I didn't know existed. I took the children to school at 9, picked them up at 3:30, and then in that time, I made sure that there was no other work. And I just ploughed through it.
Is there a difference in your performance in each episode, depending on whether it's in Welsh or in English?
I don't think there is, but Matthew Hall said something very interesting at the Hay Festival. He said that when he watched the English version against the Welsh version, he felt that the Welsh version was more, had bigger performances. And in a way that really makes sense, because the Welsh language is a really big language. The words are really gutsy, and you really got to use your face and your muscles. And I can completely see that difference. It feels very different.
Evan, need help you, please? Can you gallu sipio fi lan, please? Oh,
Chi'n dathlu rhywbeth?
Fi di dweud wrtho ti, dath divorce Lisa drwyddo, a mae gang o'n i'n cael sypar ein bellys yma.
Hang on.
People are talking about Keeping Faith as being part of a big Welsh noir thing, with dramas like Requiem and Hidden, and comparing it to the Scandi noir thrillers. What is it about Wales that seems to be lending itself to this format?
I think that penny might be dropping that Wales is a very, very beautiful, cultural, dynamic place to shoot, because, you know, we're not flat. There's no flat land here. It's all the scenery, all the landscape is very dramatic, whether it be the beaches and the cliffs, the castles, the beautiful mountains, the rivers, the forestries. We have a pick, really, of what you need. You'll probably find it here.
It doesn't give anything away to say there is going to be a second series.
Yeah.
What do you think we might see of Faith going forward?
One thing that's certain is that we'll never be safe with this programme. We will always walk to the end of that diving board and jump off. And this is the first show that I've ever felt willing to fail on. And by having that experience going, this might fail, I might fail at this, it was liberating because it freed me. And I think when people are putting not just the heart and their lines and a performance in, but when people are putting their soul into something, I think you can see the difference.
Eve Myles. The English language version of Keeping Faith begins tonight at 9 p.m. on BBC One, and you can still catch the Welsh version called Un Bore Mercha on S4C's website. From Wales now to the north of England.
Was it Benidorm, Lanzarote?